What I'm going to say today is probably going to ruffle a few feathers, but it's something that needs shared. That we as women have only been experiencing about, I'd say about 20% of the pleasure that is available to us. Today, my special guest is my husband, and he has come on to share with you our story of how we discovered how to tap in to 100% of our pleasure to be able to uplevel our intimacy, which also upleveled our lives. It is about creating connection, dedicated time together. It is about showing up for each other in a deeper and more meaningful way than we knew was even possible. So let's get into it. I am beyond thrilled to have my husband on the episode today to talk about what is it like up-leveling your intimacy and why that is such an important thing, I think, for all women, all couples to know. I'd like us to share our story of how we came to this information and what it has done for us. I'd say, how would you describe our intimacy before we learned that there was more?
Probably like standard American diet kind of stuff, things you learn just from the other relationships you're in. Um,
Yeah, it's basically like a predominant culture. There's what you see modeled from your parents
right.
and what you see in the movies, and I think also like even pornography of what's on display of.
I think we were past that point. We weren't raised on it like this generation maybe is just because cell phones weren't around and computers were primitive still. But so nudie magazines was probably the most, growing up that I had exposure to, obviously, and that's just pictures of naked ladies, so
That's
doesn't really tell you a whole lot. But yeah, just previous relationships and you knew enough going into health class to not really be educated by anything they were telling you, but um, you learn more about STDs and all the horribleness. That's about all you got from that. You didn't get any instruction on how anything actually worked.
no, it's they didn't
Or
want you to really experience any pleasure. It was all
no,
about.
they're trying to scare you away from it. So mission accomplished for a while.
So I think certainly for girls and uh yeah, for women, like again, we're not encouraged to be exploratory of ourselves. And yeah, I feel like for
Well, that's
me,
that's the problem right there, right? Boys, we discover the parts, and we're going to town on that thing because it's right there in front of us. How can you ignore it? So I think women, because your stuff is hidden away, you can kind of just pretend it's not there, and except when you need to deal with the female issues, and it's not encouraged. I mean, it's not encouraged in women. It's not encouraged in men either. Like
hey everybody.
getting caught and feeling embarrassed and your mother trying to shame you or everyone you're going to go blind kind of thing. So men don't have it easy on that side either. We just learn to keep it to ourselves and but we're not shy about exploring, you know, our bodies. And I think that sets us up for the opposite problem that we are too overstimulated too early in a way that has nothing to do with a partner, right? So we spend years before we ever meet a woman um, who is receptive to that, creating habits that we have to unlearn later,
Like
right?
the habit of get it over quickly.
Right. Because some people are knocking on your bathroom door or they, hey, what are you doing in the shower so long? And things like that. So, whereas women just don't do it at all. I'm not saying at all, but not nearly on the level that young men do. So, they don't learn the response, the sexual response at all. And men are over, so women are understimulated and men are overstimulated. And then you put them together 10 years later and there's a disconnect there, right?
Yeah, no wonder it's not really working in the way it's supposed to.
Right.
And so you were talking about how the rushed, the habit of rushing into pleasure for guys and finishing, and how that from when I started exploring, um, this work of learning how to have like this gourmet intimacy, that was a huge premise of it, is that to really get the benefits on my side, it was going to take a while. And like in your lovemaking, you had to dedicate a larger amount of time to that intimacy than, it's not the 15 minutes and then that was sex and now we're all done. And that seemed decent to me. Like, what was, how long for like, ooh, we made love? What was,
Remember in those days, the goal was always just to try to get you to at least an orgasm, if possible, and then we were good to be done, right? Then I could be done. Really, like
almost
on your
immediately?
heels,
Right.
like that would trigger mine almost, just getting you there.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the pinnacle. That was all. That was the most you could hope for. And I heard stories about multiple orgasmic women and things like that, but
Right.
I mean, we may have stumbled on that occasionally, but like it seemed like an
Unicorn.
accident or something.
Mm-hmm. Usually like, oh, that's just
It's
too
like getting two
sensitive.
yolks and an egg. You're like, wow, but like just take it when it comes. But that's about it.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, I love what you were saying about how for guys, your parts are out there. And so it's a lot easier to explore that. And it's so sensitive and everything. But for us as women, it is internal. And there's just so much of an ick factor of like putting your fingers inside of you or exploring. And again, it being shameful and wrong. And so there's
We
also,
probably think it's our job too to figure all that out. And it's not that it isn't on us to when we're together to bring those things to the surface. But if you we were talking about this earlier, if you don't understand your own sexual response cycle, how am I going to understand it if you don't even understand it?
right.
I'm not your gynecologist, and hopefully that's not what he's doing anyway. But you have to know it. I mean, it would be like you understanding my parts better than I do. It would make no sense to make that statement, right?
Right.
But why is it true on the reverse? That sometimes a guy understands his woman's sexual response cycle better than she does. She needs to be the expert on it. And then she can enjoy. I mean, it's more fun when someone is engaging in that with you. It's not that
Hmm.
it's more fun by yourself, but you have to know how how to get to all those places. Or you just if you think a man's just going to magically wake it all up for you. And I thought maybe that was true in the old days. Like, oh, we just got to be with the right person and then they have a great technique or something. The techniques are all the same, really. The stuff you've been using with previous partners that didn't work, it's the same stuff you're doing now with partners that it does work with mild adjustments to the person, but like nothing's really different.
Yeah.
It's just that the person you're with that it's working with is more woken up. All those parts
Right.
are we talked about like creating the synapses between brain and in your
Organs.
genitals,
Yeah.
organs, and once those are created, they're kind of permanent, just like the ones that are created from learning to ride a bike. Now, you don't know how to ride a bike until you do. But once you do, you never forget it because they're permanent um, brain connections to your physical body that never go away for the
Right.
most part.
I don't know that I can go back to the junk food sex
Yeah.
ever again because my body has different wiring now.
Hmm.
The software has
Yeah.
changed. The hardware is all the same, but it has been woken up. I don't know if that's the right analogy, but
Right.
yeah, it's totally been woken up by the new software, I would say. So it's accessible, but it takes a lot of work to get there to change that software and to access the hardware.
Yeah, it was months, wasn't it?
Oh no, it was years.
Was it really?
Yeah, because I would do the work for a while
It
and
was
then
stop and start.
it was stop and start. And that's why, because I was not
I could
dedicated
have
to
gotten
it.
there maybe in a few months if it had been regular.
And then I'd gotten pregnant. Well, the thing is at first it was very unproven territory.
Right.
I had all these grand promises from the gal whose work I was doing that I was going to be experiencing all these amazing orgasms and I was going to develop all this sensation inside my vagina. And it just required me doing the work. And doing the work was embarrassing. It felt like, it felt like every time I tell you, like, I'm going to go do my homework, that it
Right.
was truly masturbatory. And, and I would feel bad. And when
That's kind of the point.
It is
Yeah.
exactly. It is exactly. But it's still
Not
hard.
to feel bad, but to get over that feeling of if that's
Right.
self-indulgent or it's just what's necessary. You
Right.
don't really need, I mean, it's helpful for you to keep up that work to not lose your edge, but we've discovered that. But once you've done the work, it's kind of you can move on and now you're riding the bike. You don't need to have the training wheels anymore and the people, the dad holding you up and keep you from falling over, all that
Let's
stuff.
not bring fathers into
Okay.
this conversation.
Father,
You,
who's your daddy?
you my daddy. But yeah, you do have to do that work. And that was again, this was all about me getting over tons of crap.
Right,
Like
right.
I had to shed tons of things. I had to do a lot of internal healing, and I had to learn to allow myself to find and build sensation down there. And that required doing
Right.
work. I had to spend
That's
time
what I
there.
was, that's why I didn't believe what you were talking about early on because I didn't think that was possible to have physical parts other than being damaged from like physical trauma, but that could not feel, that they
Yeah.
could be, sh I just couldn't imagine like, the most sensitive parts of your body, you not being able to feel them in the way that normally when they're stimulated, you feel them. And I honestly didn't think that was possible.
I remember you saying like
Yeah.
you have had children pass through there. Don't
Right.
tell me you
Right.
can't feel
Right.
stuff in there. It's like, well, it is numb.
But I think because again, our brains are so part of that because everything you feel is basically phony. It's your brain interpreting something you feel.
Hmm.
But if your brain connection was cut off, you wouldn't even feel your hand being burned, right? Your hand would be damaged, but you wouldn't feel it because you don't have those connections. So I think those things can be separated and or just never established in the first place very well. And so you don't have the feeling down there that you should. You just have to learn how to develop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
that was the process that you had to go through.
so, do you remember the first time that I told you that I was able to achieve a G-spot orgasm?
I probably was not a non-believer in such a thing. Yeah.
I remember it very
Right,
vividly.
right. Well, I just didn't. I've heard of the G spot my whole life. It just sounded like this mythical place, like
Xanadu.
not real. That's a movie. I don't know, like
Yeah,
somewhere Atlantis or
right,
somewhere you've always heard about, but no one can really tell you where it is, even though they're like it's 2 inches above the thing above the whatever, right?
right.
And
Not
I'm like,
Atlantis, not
this
Atlantis, the
seems the same
G-spot.
in there to me. But now I actually do understand the difference. I can tell the difference.
Yeah.
And yeah, the results of it are proven. So it's a real place. You can get there. It's a fun
Oh,
place to
yes.
hang out.
It is a very fun place. It is the ultimate amusement park. So, uh, okay, so I started doing as part of my work,
It's more like a water park.
it is a water park. What? Yeah,
Bring your rubber sheets.
let's talk. I haven't gone in detail in the podcast about the various types of orgasms that you're able to have once you do the work and you can, like you've awakened the vagina. And so I just want to touch on those. I mean, obviously there's clitoral, that's the first, that's an exterior, that's not an internal orgasm. There's the G-spot orgasm, which is just slightly up and inside, and with that often is accompanied the female ejaculate, which is squirting. And for me, it's more like just a gush, and we haven't had any fountain activity. But and then you go further inside, and it's the cervical orgasm, and that the difference between what's been your experience as an observer of the difference between
So those are the crying orgasms.
which ones?
The
Cervical.
yeah, cervical. So they're still wet. They're just coming from up
Different
here.
different
You'll
source.
see little droplets by your head. That's where those are. Right.
Uh,
And I mean, that's almost exclusively I found, or just I've noticed
yeah.
that you don't even make a lot of noise. It's like it's like your dog died, but in a good way. I assume it's good, right? You seem to be happy about it afterwards. So
Yeah.
I think if I were to cry during sex like that, I'm not sure I would be something would be wrong with me. But men and women are different. So
I'm just dying. I'm dying. Oh yeah. So often with the G-spot orgasms, it is they're experienced like a wave of pleasure, like a rolling wave, where you can feel the crescendo and the decrescendo, but then they can keep coming. And there's a sense of sometimes it's laughter, sometimes
Mhm.
it's just pure pleasure, but it's all pure pleasure. But there's no crying. There's no crying in G-spot. But
Just baseball.
um,
That's why men think about baseball, so we don't cry during sex.
there you go.
'Cause there's no crying in baseball.
Yeah. And then there's for the cervical, it is like being cracked open. Those are the orgasms where that I've experienced where I have basically they're psychedelic experiences.
Mm.
Like I've seen like cosmic things. I feel like my internal system is being reconstructed and I have like deep understandings of things. Last night, that's what was happening. I had like this massive
Whatever
right over there, right over there with this man, this incredible sense of oneness and peace and like remembrance of self. Like this is sex. I mean, there was no plant medicine involved. These were just orgasms. And I I remember one time, I remember it very vividly, where I probably had a G-spot orgasm. And it was early in our relationship. I think he had already proposed. And so I felt really, so I
early.
really, I really believe that it had
Day
like
three of our relationship. Oh, month three. Sorry. Yeah.
month three. But I really believe, with the German New Medicine perspective of the mind body connection, that and here's the big thing of how you access these orgasms is you have to be in a state of surrender. And so that's when I feel like I'm safe, that you are providing containment and security and that you see me, that you choose me, and that I am yours. Like I know who I belong to. It makes me want to cry just talking about it because it's such a deep need for women
Yeah.
to have that with their guy. Then I can melt. Then I can fully open and release and surrender. And that's when I can experience these type of orgasms. And that has been the massive shift. I think, well, that is like you have to be able to do that to be able to get those. And I remember in that time, that magical, like what just happened? I just had this most amazing. It might have even been a cervical orgasm, but I remember thinking it lingered for days afterwards. I remember being like almost having an orgasm driving in the car, thinking about us making love, and then it just never happened again until we discovered this.
Right.
So I'd
So I
say
mean, the mental part is more important to clear all that out of the way, and then the physical help. Like that's good to help you kind of find your way after that. But if you don't have all that mental stuff cleared, emotional blocks and everything, nothing, no technique is going to get you there. You can't force it.
no. And you can't, if you aren't okay together, I'm not going to get wet, basically. It's like, it's not going to happen because I have switched from being open and receptive to now being guarded. And that I have to protect or take care of myself. That I feel like, if a woman feels like the man isn't going to be the protector provider, she's going to have to do that for herself. And that actually chemically, hormonally, it shifts from it turns off your progesterone and it increases your testosterone and then like your lubrication I know estrogen has a lot to do with the lubrication as well, but depending on what phase you are, us beautifully complicated women, but she's not going to get wet if she feels that he's not showing up right. And so that to me is also a really big indicator of like we have control over our sex lives by how we control or release our relationship. Just all of it's connected. It's
Yeah.
not separate.
Well, your sex life is the canary in the coal mine for your whole relationship because
Preach it.
and I don't know which one is which is the chicken and which is the egg, but they're kind of just the flip side of the same.
I think the canary and the egg. So,
Canaries have eggs.
I don't know. You said the
The
canary
birds.
in the
Yeah.
coal mine. So I was just,
You know what that means, right?
yes, yes.
Okay. I mean, people seem to have long-term relationships without amazing sex lives, but they're kind of just tolerating each other, right,
Mm.
for a very long time. And then that's where the whole, oh, the old ball and chain and the married with children jokes of, I don't really like my wife, but I'm stuck with her. That's because you probably don't have a great sex life because the sex life that's good erases all the problems, right? Men and women really don't get along that well, except when we do, right? But if we're not having like a great physical relationship, all we can think of are the things we don't like about each other, right? Those come to the surface and you just tolerate each other as long as you can stand it. But when your sex is good, it clears the decks for at least a few days, if not, sometimes weeks when it's really good. And you're like, oh, I don't know what I was so mad about. You forget all about that stuff, and because you feel good, and all of the angst that you were holding on to that you normally just direct at the person that you're closest to. I mean, you literally sleep in the same bed. Who
Yeah.
else would it be directed at, right? That all goes away. All your stress goes away. Everything, what you were talking about, not all those feelings of I don't feel safe, I don't feel seen, I don't feel protected. Even though from a guy's point of view, it's like, what? I mean, I lock the doors at night. I'm sleeping next to you. I'll get up when there's a bang and do something about it, right? Why? How can you not feel safe? And because it's not what you mean by it.
Mm.
It's more of a, do I feel safe in this relationship with this person, right? Are my are my wants and needs and my feelings protected, not just like your
Mm.
physical safety, right? So that's my understanding of it. And I
That's
understand the
beautiful.
containment thing is a big thing. If you look up containment and what that really means, that was a word in this context that I had never heard for most of my life. I would never have been able to define what the people who talk about containment mean by that.
Yeah.
So that's a new, and once I saw it, I'm like, oh, that is a thing. I understand that now. I understand guys don't need that at all. Like, I don't need anyone to contain me.
You are
I am the
so,
container,
yes.
right? But now that I understand that how men and women complement each other like that, I go, oh, okay, I am the container, and you're the water, right? Is
Yeah.
that what
Yep.
the
Hmm.
analogy is? And then it makes perfect sense. You just you can't think of yourself as two containers, right?
Then you're just
There's no purpose
existing
to
next
them.
to
They're
each
just two
other
containers that are empty,
that are not related or
waiting to be
necessary.
recycled. I don't know what, but floating on the top of the ocean, doing nothing. So, um, yeah, that concept was big in me understanding.
Can you explain containment to what's your best definition of what that means for a man to offer a woman containment?
I don't know if I can define it. I think I understand it, but I can't define it because I didn't even know it existed. This was me,
Right.
being a man. I didn't know women needed that from me though, from
Right.
that ballast or that again,
That
the word is self-explanatory. You're the container of everything that is a woman,
right.
in a way. Like
Hmm.
you're kind of a tempest of all this stuff that we don't really have going on inside us very often. Occasionally, we'll have moments of intensity, but we're kind of more of a, I mean, this is a obviously big generalization, but men are typically more even-keeled and can't be pushed off our axis very easily. So we don't really need that containment. It doesn't make us any better. It's just, that's why women get mad when we don't respond to something that's you're very worked up about, and we're just like, yeah, whatever. It's
Yeah.
because we're just kind of that we're in the middle of the seesaw a little bit.
You're not as emotionally driven as
Right,
women
right.
are. Yeah. Yeah.
That's not a better thing or a good or
No,
a bad thing.
it's
It's just what
isn't
is.
it
It's just
great
what is.
that you aren't as emotional as
Oh, if we
women?
were both like that, that would be a nightmare,
Right. And I know that some men who are actually in their feminine they are more
Right.
emotional and they're very
And
evolved.
that's when
And
I'm at my worst, is when I let my emotions take over my thinking, and I am not very rational. I'm not very predictable, or you probably don't feel safe in those moments at all, right? And I will own that. Like that's me at my worst. And it's not because I'm behaving like a woman. It's just that I am not behaving the way I am at my best,
mm,
the way I was built. So,
right. And I'm at my worst when I'm trying to be controlling
right.
and trying to drive the ship and not um
I like the hand on the steering wheel analogy. That's my favorite. Like who likes to drive with someone holding onto the steering wheel? It's
mm,
very annoying.
mm,
Or even trying to make you turn, like hands off the wheel or honking your horn, right? Being a little helper.
Would you like death? No. Yeah.
That was my big thing. If you're gonna let me drive the car, let me drive the car. If you don't want me driving the car, that's fine. We can talk about that. I can go get another car. I'm not getting in the back seat though. I'm not getting in the passenger seat unless there's something wrong with me and I need, take a breather or something. I need to sleep on a road trip, but um, I'm gonna drive my car no matter what. You're welcome to come along with me, right? This is from the man's point of view. But and if I need your help navigating, that will be something we negotiate, right? Like sometimes it's better for you to tell me where the turns are so I don't have to be staring at something else. But um, you can't ask a man to drive the car and then tell him how to drive the car. It's just that's not going to work,
Right.
for
I,
most men.
and I love, for me, I always use the analogy of if I'm cooking dinner, get out of my kitchen.
Right.
Don't tell me like you're really going to season it that way. You don't want to burn it like last time. Like do you want dinner? So I totally understand.
We talked about when we were having our problems. You know, women can trust men without knowing anything about them. They do it all the time. If you get on a plane, you are trusting that that pilot is not going to crash you into a mountain. You don't even think about it, do you? I think about it. I've been a pilot on some level, and it worries me. I don't know anything about this guy or even know what his face looks like, and I can't go and open that door and say, "Hey, you awake in there?"
Yeah.
Right? Just got to take it on faith. He's not going to kill us.
Tell me what your last 36 hours looked like.
Right.
You good, buddy?
Right. But all the half the plane is full of women and their children, trusting that this man they don't know anything about is not going to kill their whole family.
Mm.
And they just so you can trust people when you want to. Sometimes you choose not to trust the man you're with. That's on you, right? Now, you might say, well, I had no information about this guy. I can see this pilot. He's looking very unsafe right now, or I'm feeling very nervous about it. It's like, well, doesn't mean that pilot you don't know is any better, right? He could be on drugs for all you know up there. So I'm just saying, women have the ability to trust, to put their whole future in someone's hands when they want to. They just have to decide to do it and then commit to that sometimes, even through some turbulence. The plane could start shaking a little bit from time to time. You have to be able to go, I've already made this decision and I'm gonna see it through. I'm not always looking for, all right, where are the exits? You're
Yes.
30,000 feet.
Right.
Can't jump out of the plane, right?
When you're on the plane, your bags are packed, literally.
Never gotten on a plane with a parachute. Well, that's not true. Not one that like is in my luggage though.
Right.
So
So with all of that, I think prioritizing your marriage so that you are connected and you're not running into these, because when you're disconnected, that's when you have all the creeping like, well, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know. He's acting kind of this. There's no communication. You're not one together. And that's why connection is so very, very important so that you guys are on the same page all the time. And then that's how when you up level your sex life, that creates an even deeper connection and bliss that because so often women aren't we don't even know. I didn't even know that I wasn't satisfied as a woman. I didn't know that. And I only know now because now I'm very satisfied. Where before, because these orgasms are, it's they're not magical. It's a biological function.
right.
But what it does for me is it's better than a massage. It's better than going out and getting a massage. It's free, which I love. And it's fun. We have fun together. And I feel like I have had an internal makeover after we have a session together. It is better than going for a run or anything like that because of what it internally cleanses within me and how it bonds me closer to you. And I feel it's you are there in an embodiment of containment for me. You're showing up and you're giving me what I need and you're committed to that. And I love this new way of being intimate that I get to adore you. Where before I think I thought that man parts were kind of icky. And now I feel very differently about your parts and I absolutely love them. And that
Please tell me more.
I will tell everyone more about that. but it has really changed even the way that I cherish and love you, the way that I get to enjoy you, and the fun that we have together that way. And guess what? Like, I don't have to be tipsy to make love with you and think that I'm having a great, wonderful time. And that's not to say that's so rude. That's not at all what I meant of saying, like, I gotta be drunk to screw my husband. That
That's where it all began.
it's weird. Oh, again, it is, but it's I used to think that that was kind of part of it. You have a couple glasses of wine, you get ready, you're in the mood, and then you have sex.
Right. It's lowering
Inhibitions,
your self-consciousness,
right?
or your sense of self-conscious. You know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
If you're self-conscious about all that, you gotta have to lower all those inhibitions to engage in it, and now you're just deadening the senses. It's just kind of counterproductive.
It is totally. It is, and we've experienced that, and which I think is amazing that I can get so incredibly turned on and enjoy all of the senses and our time together.
Right.
Something that we started
It's the
doing.
female version of like whiskey dick. Heard of that, right? The
Yeah.
guy can't get it up because he's had too much to drink. Well, do we really think it has no effect on women at all?
Oh,
You don't have anything to really get up. I mean, a little bit, but
yeah.
but you're just gonna be shut down, right? It's all gonna go numb, like we
Right.
talked about.
Everything is kind of
Right.
going number. Yeah, and to realize that that doesn't have to be part of the equation anymore. Um, Something that I really liked of was creating like how do we keep the passion going in our in our relationship? And
Sunday fun days.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just time that belongs to us. It's not, I mean, we had it at a kind of a scheduled block for a while, but now we just kind of wing it. Um, but it's just dedicating that time to being together in that way and not having it be rushed. That's the big thing. Like it's kind of it's kind of like you're just locked in a room for a few hours, 3 hours or whatever, and you can be intense in those moments, or you can be taking a break, or you can just be talking, and then sometimes it picks back up again. It doesn't have to just be 3 hours of continuous sex. That sounds kind of daunting when you hear people
yeah,
talk about
I
that. And really,
would.
what they mean is just you're pretty much naked for 3 hours, right? In each other's proximity, and but you're moving around, you're doing other things,
You're
and
not on your phones.
right, you're not on your phones. You're not. I mean, unless could be, I guess, doing something with it, but um, it's better just to be engaged with each other, and um, I mean, that's the most focused time you have together of your whole week usually, so you want to take advantage of it.
I appreciate that you have been very consistent in honoring that dedicated time, and it makes me feel like I am going to be provided for in that time because girls need to know that. If you just kind of leave it
Yeah,
up in the air, like I don't know, maybe you're going to get some satisfaction. I don't know, see how I feel. It's like
well, it
if we
shows
can,
your priority too. I mean,
yes,
if you cannot find a few hours in your week, no matter how busy you are, to spend with your spouse, um, what does that say? Nothing good, you know. There's nothing you can carve out of your week anywhere. You know, it may not always be Sunday mornings. That's just where we put it, but um, you can't just be like, you know, the 30 minutes before you go to bed. That's usually the garbage time, you know. You're both tired. You just have the lights off because you're trying to have the, you know, the nighttime thing, and just doesn't lend itself to good sex, really.
and we've been able to navigate this with having 6 kids,
Yeah.
and you know, you.
Guys are better in the morning anyway, you know. It's what they don't call it nighttime wood. It's morning wood for a reason, right?
Mhm.
Your testosterone's spiking, and it sometimes peaks at weird hours like 5 in the morning where it's not really conducive.
I
I'm
don't know.
gonna wake you
Get
up.
some Folgers in my cup, and then here we go.
Knock knock. Um, yeah, you gotta carve out that time, and once that just becomes part of your routine, you're like, oh, we could probably fit some more time in there too, like throughout the week, or you just that becomes the spontaneous stuff. But you have to have something that you can both count on, right? Because it's at least, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, like weekly sounds or that's all they're doing it. But again, you do it more when you can, when you find the time, when you have the energy, when life allows. But if you
Mhm.
don't at least have that weekly session where like it's a good one too, not a
Right.
garbage sex one.
Yeah, it's
Sometimes they're not always as good as some just because just can't hit a home run on every at bat, right? But they should be decent.
what does decent mean?
Well, you're both participating fully. It's not I don't know if I have any parameters.
I think it's like not follow into routine. So
Right,
like
right.
first we do a little of this and
Yeah.
then we
That's what
do
the nighttime
this.
stuff usually is. Just
Yeah.
like, get you to a clitoral orgasm and then I can finish and then we're done and go to sleep, right?
Right.
You can do that for years. And it's not terrible, but it's just kind of like McDonald's, you
Right.
know?
But honest,
McDonald's is not the worst food ever. I would eat that if I was really, really hungry, right? But it's not my first choice, and it's not really even my 10th choice, honestly. Um, but it has its place, if you're camping. You might
okay.
just want to squeeze one in. It's probably not going to be your best sex ever because you're at 14,000 feet and you're freezing, but whatever. And you're in a tent
And then sticky.
at a campground.
Yeah. Be quiet.
Right.
Oh, anyway. But yeah, that and so those Sunday morning sessions, they are, I'd say like a minimum of an hour, and that's kind of a quickie.
I don't know if
And
we even
but
time that
it's
anymore.
I know, but in a general time frame,
Yeah.
like we give
I'd
ourselves a
say you have to
3 hour time
talk that
frame.
just to make sure you're not, you know. Sometimes you don't even get the Bluetooth set up and
Yeah, we don't
playing the
even have
music.
music and yeah,
So
all that.
that hour can slip away from you pretty quick.
Yeah.
So
So it's a little it's more dedicated time. But that's done something, honey, that we've done for a year solid. Except for when we had a little bit of a hiccup.
and the hiccup, that probably could have been solved.
It could have.
Just I don't know how though, because we weren't simpatico on the surface. So how do you get in the bedroom when you're not getting along?
Right.
Like someone has to kind of get kidnapped, you know, and
Yeah.
and it's not going to go over well because you're not. I don't know. Maybe someone can kind of like allow their guard to come down, you know? If you were to approach me, like we're not getting along, and you approach me in that soft way, I probably am going to relent just because I'm a guy. It's like, hey, attractive woman wants to have sex with me. Even if I hate her, I'm probably gonna let her do it, right? Sorry. But like on the other side, if you are super not
If I'm being combative.
right, is there anything I can do to knock that down? Maybe, or it might just be received even worse. Like now I'm
Honestly,
being too aggressive and now I'm a big jerk, right? And that at least that's how I'm approaching it. I'm like,
mm,
this might actually make things worse.
right.
If I'm not pulling off the charm because she hates my guts right now, I just double down on it being. And again, someone has to kind of break the ice, basically. That usually is enough to get you in the bed. That all that other stuff is going to, work itself out of the system.
I know.
Normally, you'll come back to the center at that point, right? But the longer you go, the more calcified you get, and pretty soon you're just facing away from each other, and it's not going to happen at all. So
Yeah.
we've been there many times throughout our marriage, and
Yes.
we just always walk it back, walk it back off the ledge. So that's always what you have to do. You have to just decide that's not what you want to happen. If it is what you want to happen, there's plenty of people out there willing to help you make it happen to be divorced or to break up or whatever you call it. But if you don't want it to happen, you have to take the steps to make it not happen, right? And
Right.
you can't wait for the other person to like turn their head. You have to be moving towards them and just go tell them, I don't want this to happen. And then if they say, well, too bad, I do. Not sure you can do much about that except just keep working on them,
Yeah.
right? Until it's too late.
Keep trying to be your best self
Yeah, yeah.
because that's,
It's hard
well,
because you both have your defenses up and you're both just slinging arrows at each other. Like, but you never do this, but you
right,
never
right.
do that.
I've got my tally board right
Right.
there, and so do you, and it's just the buildup of
And it's your
resentment.
ego. Your egos are fighting at that point. You have to
Well,
let the ego go away.
you feel like this person doesn't care about like being in relationship with you, or
Right.
you like thinks they think you're a piece of crap and you think, well, yeah, well, you're a bigger piece of crap, and let me tell you, I've got a whole book filled with reasons why. And when that is your focus on all the broken parts, as opposed to, and that, yeah, it didn't take long to shift for us once you softened and you turned towards us as a family. And then once I saw you turned back into the guy that I loved. I don't know, it was just like you had distracted and like it turned, you had a lot on your plate. And then when you turned back towards us
Right.
and you wanted us
That's
as a
usually what
family.
it is, right? Everyone struggles with their own angst and their own sense of self, and you don't always feel at your best. And when you're on your own, you just wander around your apartment depressed, right? And you're not hurting anybody, hopefully not yourself, right? You just hope it'll turn around. But when you're in a relationship or a marriage, now that other person feels attacked or feels abandoned, right? And and you just have to remember, like, hey, anyone can go through these periods where you're not your best self, and you need your spouse to pick you up in those moments. And I mean, it goes both directions, right? And and what sometimes happens is one person gets low, the other person feels abandoned. Now they get low, and now you're both low.
Hmm.
And like, who was there to pick either of you up, And then it
Mhm.
just spirals from there. So it's just something to watch out for.
That's
You have to
true.
guard against always. It's probably never going to go away. You just have to be quicker to nip it in the bud.
What do you think one
And the
of
sex and the sex part keeps that. If you keep those dates, I mean, again, that was telling. That was the Sunday. That was the Sunday we missed, wasn't it? We just blew it off, right? If we had made that date anyway, like it was legally mandated or something, like by the courts, so we had to get in bed for 3 hours, pretty sure that all would have gone away. It would have taken a little while. It would have been uncomfortable first hour. Someone's
we
like, get in there, take off
yeah.
your clothes, and you're not coming out until the 3 hours are up.
And we might have had to talk. And
I
that's
would
the
have talked the
thing.
whole time, maybe had
Right.
sex for like the last 10 minutes, and when it was all better, right? But like, then they're like, hey, your time's up. I'm like, oh, Rizzy.
Yeah.
Right? But it does. I mean, they say sex doesn't fix things. No, it totally does. If you're having the right type of relational sex, not just you know,
Right.
not just the wham bam in the back of the car kind that, people grow up thinking that's sex. It
I,
is sort of sex,
it's
right?
procreation,
Yeah.
but it is not recreation or whatever.
That's why like casual sex is people always say like casual sex is not I've never had enough to be sick of it, so maybe I'm not the best person to ask, but like they always like, oh no, I'm tired of that lifestyle. It's like, see, it's not fulfilling, is it? Because it doesn't bring you to that place because you're not with someone long enough to create those type of connections.
Yeah.
You
It's
don't
the
get to know
most
someone that fast.
bonding
Yeah,
thing that you can do is to have sexual
right.
intercourse.
You can't
And
bond with a perfect stranger that quickly.
oh,
Like
you
it
can.
takes a long time, sometimes years, to really get to that point. So
Mhm.
people that are jumping from partner to partner will never achieve that because it's just not possible. They're just having the physical sensations, but it's really happening up here.
So, what would be your advice to couples who they want to up level their sex life?
It really starts with women understanding their bodies to the as much as they can understand it. I mean, you don't have to be an expert to like teach it, but you have to absorb all this stuff wherever you need to get it from and practice it. And um, once you can achieve that, because the technique you're using is probably sufficient right now to get to those levels. If you're not there right now, if you're not achieving those kind of orgasms, we're not doing anything magical technique wise.
We don't have any toys. We don't
No,
have,
there's
yeah,
nothing. We're doing exactly the same stuff we always did. It's
yeah,
just that it creates better results now.
yeah.
And there's a little bit of technique in the sense that like now I understand the
The
point
anatomy of,
of being of slowing down my sexual response cycle to more sync up with yours. Yours is slower to start, takes longer to build, and then can go and go through these peaks and valleys and just keep going and going. And a guy can actually do that too. I never believed that at first, and I haven't achieved that as far as I could yet, but I know believe it's possible because of people that have told me about it. And if you can get close to that, your response cycles will sync up a lot better. And it's not just you trying to always hold the tide back and thinking about baseball or whatever to try not to. And that's not really that pleasurable to just try to always
Avoid
avoid
orgasm.
pleasure. It's
Yeah.
just you're just now I'm just doing exercise. It's like I'm in a CrossFit gym or something instead of having sex with my wife, right? And you want to be where you can enjoy all that. And you just have to that's another thing a guy can do is learn about that. What do they call it? Sexual kung fu or whatever. There's a lot of people out there
Uh,
promoting it, but
yeah, the sexual mastery for
yeah,
men.
it's all the ancient Chinese secrets, all that stuff. And I don't know any of the word terminology for that, but I do believe that stuff works.
It's basically it's orgasm without ejaculation.
Right, for the man, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the man version.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. And that is true when if guys can increase their stamina by I mean it for them, yes, they can self-pleasure without going to orgasm.
right.
And that often, I don't know, you're the guy, but from I know what Kim Anami talks about, and like don't get your phone out. Don't look at anything.
Yeah,
It
you can't be overstimulated like visually. That's the big thing.
because the point isn't to orgasm. The point is to increase the stamina.
Are we talking about from the man side?
Yeah.
I mean, my misunderstanding was that the muscle contractions of your pelvic floor is what created the orgasm. I thought the intense feeling was those muscles contracting.
Hmm.
And it's not that they're not related, they're in proximity to that. But the orgasm is still in your head, right?
Mm.
You can actually separate those two. And again, it takes a long time to figure it out. And I haven't totally figured it out yet. But I don't know if everyone has experience, but like when you're a kid and you have your first have your first orgasm, normally nothing came out back then. And I always assumed, well, it's immature testes and they have nothing to produce yet. Maybe
Hmm.
that's true, maybe it's not. But I think it's because initially that is possible. You've separated your orgasm from ejaculation. And it's only later that now you're trying to get it over with quickly. You have a lot of tension built up in your pelvic floor, and that's what, creates the tension that creates the release. But you actually knew how to get to orgasm just with mental stimulation more than just the physical jackhammering of it, right? But then over the years and being a teenager, you've created bad habits basically. So now now you're bringing those into a relationship and you have to undo it all. So I don't know if there's any solution to that other than you just have to fix it when you're older, right?
Yeah.
Women are all going to grow up kind of being sexually repressed a little bit, and you can blame the culture, your parents, the church, whatever. It doesn't matter. It seems like everyone is kind of in the same boat. And just as soon as you're ready to break down all those walls, it's you don't have to wait till your 40s or 50s,
No, you
You can
don't.
do it in your 20s and 30s. It just usually it doesn't occur to you that anything's wrong,
Well, I had no
You know
idea.
what you're missing. Yeah.
I don't know that I ever would have heard of this if I hadn't accidentally happened on to Kim Anami's work.
Right,
And
right,
I wasn't looking to up level my sex life. I was looking for information about giving birth without having a medical
right.
assistance there. And she had someone as an interview, and then I started looking into it more and went, what is this? What is this sorcery she speaks of?
Mhm.
And I binged onto all of her episodes and I was like, this okay, I think this is actually possible for me. And once I believed that it's kind of like learning how to fly, that I
It's a
believe.
la carte information because I mean I remember ridiculing it because I would listen to some of those podcasts and think, well, she's totally out to lunch on this thing over here, right? Whatever it was. But it doesn't mean they're wrong about everything, right? You have to piecemeal information when you get it and not wait for someone to be completely on board with your current worldview because I mean, go back 20 years. Do you still believe the same things you did 20 years ago? I know I don't.
Nope.
Or even 5 years ago sometimes. So you take what makes sense to you and that you can apply in your life, and then just push the other stuff aside. Like, hey, maybe you'll catch up to where they're at. Maybe you won't. It's okay. So that's the problem with some of those teachers. They've done this for so long now. They're way out there on the limb of the tree, right? And you're just like, that seems crazy. It's like, well, no, just take what you can take from them and then see where it leads.
Yeah. So what I would recommend is where to start from here if you want to deepen your intimacy and pleasure. And this is totally achievable. And I think that it's been incredibly valuable for our relationship and my level of happiness as a person. Would you say it's been beneficial?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, this kind of connection, I mean, at the risk of sounding sexist, it calms women down, right? You have to admit, being a woman, you can be out of control sometimes in your own like in your own space, in your own feelings, in your right, that you don't feel contained. And this is the way that evens you out, smooths
Yeah.
you out. And and that's the version of women that men can get along with kind of forever, right? And that is a requirement of us to make sure to help you get to that place and to keep you in that place. And in the same way, what women bring to men's lives is the domesticity, the stability, the of a home life, and not just living out of a duffel bag. You know, like, guys can be pretty Spartan in that way. We don't create a great life for ourselves when we're just focused on the mission, the mission, the mission. And then we look around and we're, you know, that's why guys can, when they're divorced, they end up just living in a efficiency apartment. They don't care. They don't even have
Or
furniture,
a trailer.
right? A
Yeah.
trailer and like down by the river, right? They
Right.
don't care because it's just not what, it doesn't mean that they're not happier in a more home environment. They just it's not something they know how to create for themselves sometimes. And women bring that, right? They bring children, they bring the family. I mean, again, we'd all just be living in a treehouse by ourselves,
And
honestly.
it's not just about the domesticity. It is about the softness and the
Right,
sweetness that a woman brings to a man's more firm, the way that we operate. We bring that soft nurturing and you bring the stability. But when we're not simpatico, then I'm trying to be stable and which makes me rigid, and that's not what you signed up for and doesn't make me a pleasant companion. And if you're all wobbly and whatnot, then I feel like
right.
our lives are out of control, and I oh help. Where are the exits? So yeah, it is the balancing thing. So this kind of intimacy helps us stay in balance. And yeah, because when you show up and you give me all that pleasure and connection and devotion, then
It's attention too. It's
yes,
the most, I mean, it's the most attentive you can kind of be,
yes, and then
being that close to somebody.
taking someone in at their most raw
Right, right,
form and saying, I adore every square inch of you, all of it, even the parts that you can't see, and like all of those things where there has been like layers of shame and self-hatred and all those different
right.
things. When you can get to that point and you're with that person who takes you fully in and loves you, it's like we are the team. It's
Right.
like, yeah, it doesn't get any better than
Well,
that.
that's supposed to be the only person in your life you're going to be able to,
Do that with.
right, not just the physical act. You could have other people you're doing the physical act with, but all what you just talked about, um, seeing you at your most vulnerable, like you're not going to get that from your boss at work, you know, hopefully not, right? Like, I mean, maybe if you're married to the person, but
Oh, there we go.
all those other people in your life, it's like they don't know what you're going through. They're not in your corner. They're
Yeah.
friendly with you, but are they really going to stick their neck out for you? You know what I mean? Like the person that you sleep with, that's your person.
Yes.
That's your rock. So you're gonna have to like you have to protect that connection, and that should be the most important person in your
Mm-hmm.
life, really. I mean, obviously, but it's not really that obvious sometimes, right? It sounds obvious to say, but
Right.
you have to remember, you have to remind yourself that hey, this is it's a reason why you had a big ceremony with, you know, vows and all the people there witnessing, and like there's a reason why we go through all that. It's not just a scam to market, you know, for the wedding industry or whatever, but it's to proclaim that and to make sure you have, you know, reminders of that everywhere. And you shouldn't treat that commitment lightly, you know, because it's hard to find. Can't replace those people sometimes. You might think you can, like, oh, I'll just find someone better. Good luck. There's a reason why people that get divorced sometimes are divorced and then they're divorced and they're divorced because now they're just in a fruitless search, you know.
But that's often because they haven't done the work themselves.
Right. We're just
They're
repeating the same pattern.
right, and they are an energetic match for that same frequency that's they're stuck in that cycle. You have to keep up leveling if you want different. If you want better, you
You
have
just
to
get
get
back to
better.
where you were. It's like you're repeating the same. It's like you want to flip pages in this book, but guess what? You didn't really change the book. You just flip back to page three,
Hmm.
and you think it's with somebody new, and you're eventually gonna get back to page 211 where you got bored and quit,
If you
right?
got that,
If you got that far, right? But
I was
like,
thinking 85.
right? But it's just like a choose your own venture. When you get to the dead end, you flip back to the front. It's like you're just gonna keep getting back there, and if you're not really any different, you know,
Hmm.
just changing the partner isn't gonna solve that issue.
Well, thanks, baby.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And if I hopefully this resonates with you, and if you are interested in delving deeper, stay with us where the conversation is going to continue. If you have any questions, feel free to write in at wholewomanawakening@gmail.com. And thank you again for being with us. Before you go, if this episode spoke to you, I would love to stay connected with you in a deeper way. You can head to wholewomanawakening.com and join my email list. And I'll send you a free little gift with some simple, free, or inexpensive ways to care for yourself and come back to who you are. And if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed here so you don't miss what's coming next. All right, I'll meet you back here soon. Thanks for joining me.